Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday meditation by the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Carol Cross, and I am one of the licensed practitioners with the center. And it is my privilege to lead today's meditation. Our topic this month is the body. And so our meditation today is going to be based on that. If you tuned in last week, one of the things Reverend Dusty said in her talk was that to love ourselves means that we must love our body, and we must love all parts of our body, not just the parts that we like, not just the parts that always are serving us perfectly, but the things that we have judgments about, or the parts we have judgments about, or the parts that sometimes give us some aches and pains. So that's what today's meditation is all about. So I invite you to close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths to ground yourself at this moment. And here is what I would like you to do is we'll have about 15 minutes, and starting at your feet, I would like you to experience and acknowledge every part of your body. Your little toe, your ankles or your elbows, your inner organs, your top of the head, every bit. Focus on each part going from the feet up and just appreciate that part and thank that part for how it serves you every day. Because we forget to say thanks to all the different components that allow us to do what we do in the world. And if you come to a part that has been giving you issues, maybe even now there's some pain or some stiffness or something, take a moment and ask it if that part has a message for you. Because as we know, those of us who have studied Louise Hay's, sometimes these physical ailments aren't really they're still physical ailments, but that there is some message or underlying spiritual, emotional issue. So those places that you've sometimes found harder to love, take a little extra time there and see if they have something they've been trying to tell you. And be sure to thank them and love them twice as much. So we will now have some music, and you'll have about 15 minutes to love every bit of your beautiful body. All right, now it's time to come back into your body, or back into your consciousness, or back into your more normal way of being. And you can open your eyes. And I know that was a really powerful meditation for me. I got all sorts of messages that I really appreciate. And knowing that we are all one, I know that is the truth for you as well. So now you have a few minutes to go take care of your body and come back, and our main service begins at 10:15, and we'll see y'all there. Thanks so much.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. We're so very glad that you've joined us, whether you're here at Sophie's Grill and Bar or whether you've invited us into your own homes through the power of live streaming. Thank you so very much for including us in your day, this absolutely glorious day that the Lord hath made. We're very happy to be present and alive and doing our thing this morning. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Dusty Ripplemeyer, and I have the privilege and the honor of being this spiritual community's spiritual director, senior minister. And we are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. Now, in Centers for Spiritual Living, we believe that there is one power and presence, one creative energy back of everything that there is. Some of us might call this power and presence God, others love, others first cause, others source. But by whatever name it goes by, it is the very essence of unconditional love, of joy, of peace, of creativity, of wisdom, of abundance. And it is everywhere at all times, meaning that right where we are, not just those of us at Triangle Center for Spiritual Living, but every sentient being on the planet is, God is in its fullness and in its wholeness. Everything seen and unseen was created by this power and presence out of itself in a moment of unconditional love. And so, we also believe that we were created in its image and likeness. And because of that, we too have this power to create. And in fact, we have been creating each and every single day of our lives, whether we've been aware of it or not. We create through our feelings, through our beliefs, through our thoughts, through our words, and through our actions. And that might land a little heavy on you at some days, but the truth of it is that if we are not liking the experience of life that we are having, then we are the ones that can actually change that. We are the ones that can do something about it. Change your thinking, change your life is not just a bumper sticker. It is truly a way of living and a way of living a life that we absolutely love to live. We gather together on Sundays and Wednesdays and different times for classes and for social events to support each other on this path, to remind each other who we really are, and to love each other as we walk this path together. So thank you so very much for joining us. We have a flower dedication today, and our flower dedication is for all of the fathers, the grandfathers, the great-grandfathers, all of the single mothers, and all who are in same gender relationships, who are serving in the role of fathers within their families, and all of the people who represent the masculine archetype in the life of another human being. Reverend Scott Aubrey says, we have the opportunity to honor our fathers this Sunday. Recognizing the masculine dimension within all of us is a representation of spirit as the source of our material needs. Fatherhood is a symbol of the goodness and integrity of life, and Father's Day is an opportunity to share these divine attributes with others, to consciously live with the sense of spirit at the very center of our being. So please take a look at this video.
I would ride on your shoulders and look out on the world, pretending I was big and tall like you. When you were there to hold me, I never was afraid. You made me feel there's nothing I can't do. If I'd spread my wings to fly when I was very small, I knew that you'd be standing by to catch me if I fall. You're my hero, chasing the monsters from my room, going on trips around the moon, the one who's always been there faithfully. You're my hero, and 'cause you're my dad, I'm twice as blessed and lucky to be me. As I kept getting older, we often disagreed, but you let me find myself in my own way. And it's funny how just lately I've come to recognize how wise you are becoming every day. There's so much you've given me. I hope I made you proud. You're everything a dad should be, and it's time to tell you now. You're my hero. You didn't have to say a word. Your love was the message that I heard, inspiring me to be all I can be. You're my hero, and 'cause you're my dad, I'm twice as blessed and lucky. I'm so lucky to be me. Dad, you're my hero.
So whether you're a father or a father figure that is here present on the planet with us today, or someone that is watching this day from a higher plane, we see you. We know who you really are. We celebrate you, and we love you. Happy Father's Day. So that's not the only special thing that's going on today. Today is June 19th, also known as Juneteenth, which is also known as Emancipation Day. And it symbolizes the end of slavery and commemorates the reading of President Abraham Lincoln's General Order Number 3, which was spoken on June 19th, 1865 in Texas. And this announced the freeing of the slaves. So please take a look at this video.
4 bloody years, the Union defeated the Confederacy to win the Civil War and abolish slavery in April 1865. There were nearly 4 million slaves in the U.S. at that time. Union armies began marching through the southern states, freeing thousands of slaves each day. The news took months to reach Texas, the westernmost state in the Confederacy. On June 19, 1865, Major General Gordon Granger and 2,000 Union troops rode into Galveston, Texas, and told slaves of their freedom. The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves. Granger's words spread through Texas. All at once, slaves found out the war was over and they were free. Their joyous, spontaneous celebration gave birth to Juneteenth. Juneteenth, a combination of the words June and 19th, commemorates when the last enslaved people in the South were finally set free. Many slaves were met with violence, even death, when they tried to leave. Yet the promise of freedom extinguished fear and fueled generations of indestructible people. Former slaves gathered on Juneteenth the next year, and the year after that. And over the decades, Black communities observed the holiday with festive family gatherings, colorful parades, and bountiful barbecues. Texas became the first state to make Juneteenth an official holiday in 1980, and since, all but 3 states recognize Juneteenth as a holiday. While it is not a federal holiday in the U.S., following the summer of protests in the wake of George Floyd's murder in 2020, private companies have made Juneteenth a permanent paid holiday for their employees. Juneteenth is a celebration of independence, the day all Americans were truly free.
So since the making of this video, Juneteenth has become an official national holiday when President Biden signed the measure into law in 2021. Maya Angelou said, "History, despite its retching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again." And Desmond Tutu said, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together." So from this day forward, my invitation is for each and every one of us to use the power and presence that is within us and surrounding us for good, to create a space of unconditional love and freedom for all sentient beings on the planet. All sentient beings on the planet. It is truly, truly what we are here for. Speaking of freedom, we continue throughout the month of June to celebrate Pride Month, a time when the world's LGBTQ plus communities come together and celebrate the freedom to be themselves. The original organizers chose this month to pay homage to the Stonewall Uprising in June 1969 in New York City, which helped spark the modern gay rights movement. A.J. Willingham's CNN senior writer says, "I've been thinking about the difference between tolerating and celebrating. When you tolerate someone, it is as though you're forcing yourself to acknowledge they exist. But when you celebrate someone, you're letting them know you actively appreciate their existence. They bring something valuable to the world just by being themselves." So let's all celebrate each other, shall we? Indeed. And lastly, Tuesday, June 21st is summer solstice. And I have a feeling it's going to be a very long day. Ba-dum, boom. So for those of you that went over, summer solstice occurs where one of the Earth's poles has its maximum tilt towards the sun, and the sun reaches its highest position in the sky. It's the day with the longest period of daytime. Emma Mumford says, summer solstice has great spiritual significance. It's a potent time for birthing new energy, new beginnings, manifesting, and welcoming abundance. Knowing ease and grace for all of us on the planet, with new beginnings and welcoming abundance into our lives. I would now like to thank Carol Cross for her lovely meditation that increased the container, expanded the container that we will, our service will be unfolding within. It was very beautiful, Carol. Thank you so very much. And let's welcome her back to the podium.
Well, hello, everyone. Happy all of those holidays. The theme for the year 2022 is Living Everyday Wonder. Our theme for the month of June is Body. Reverend Matt's talk title today is The Body Remembers. I'm now going to read this community's purpose statement. This is our reason for being here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as unique and individualized expressions of God, the love intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice this truth in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives and to being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet. With the energy of unconditional love, simply, we are here for God. All right, and so now we are going to center ourselves. So I invite you to close your eyes, turn within, open your heart and your mind, and allow the healing sounds of the crystal bowls to just wash over you. So now come back into your body, back into the room. Open your eyes once again, because we're going to have one of our favorite rituals of unity. And I invite up our two volunteers, Madison and Jim, two men who have special places in my heart, as I'm sure they do in yours. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths, as represented by this ceremony. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic traditions are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Science of mind and spirit is the path of the divine principles of love and law. And the heart represents the one heart, the one love that resides at the center of all people and all beings everywhere, with no exceptions. May peace prevail on earth through the followers of all paths. And so it is. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, now, once again, I suggest you close your outer eyes as I say a word of blessing on today's service. And I'm feeling that oneness, those of the blessings of all faiths, that oneness with all the people here in Sophie's, all the people that we're connected to via the technology, but all people everywhere. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling my heart beating in a billion different bodies. And I'm feeling that oneness not only with people, but with the planet, with the animals, with the trees, with the winds, with all that is. And mostly I'm feeling that oneness with the spirit that embodies everything and everyone and every thought and every spark of energy. And that oneness, that spirit, that energy is good because it is God. It is powerful, it is wise, it is beautiful, it is joyful, abundant, and it is unconditional loving. And so I know in this space that today's service unfolds perfectly. I say a word of blessing on Sophie's and on Desi as our host, our physical hosts. A word of blessing on all the volunteers who came early to help set things up and who will do all the behind the scenes stuff that is required. A word of blessing on Ava and Heather, who are just those technical magicians that make it possible for us to share this with the world. I say a word of blessing on Sandy Hemingway, whose music is always transcendent. A word of blessing on our beloved Reverend Dusty, the ever hostess with the ever mostess. And a word of blessing with our special guest speaker, Reverend Matt, who I know is just going to bring a whole new light on our study of the body and our spiritual nature. And I say a word of blessing on every one of you, because this is an experience that goes both ways. We may not see you, but I feel you. I know you, and I know that everyone else does as well, because this is an experience that we are creating together. And we know that you are contributing your best. So, with such a powerful dream team, I just turn it over to the universe that always says yes, and ask you to join me in affirming this with our words, and so it is. All right. So the author of the reading today is from Ernest Holmes. And he says, I believe that love is at the center of everything. Therefore, I accept love as the healing power of life. I permit love to reach out from me to every person I meet. I believe that love is returned to me from every person I meet. I trust the guidance of love because I believe it is in the power of good. I believe it is the power of good in the universe. I feel that love is flowing through me to heal every situation I meet, to help every person I contact. Love opens the way before me and makes it perfect, straight, and glad. Love forgives everything unlike itself. It purifies everything. Love converts everything that seems commonplace into that which is wonderful. Love converts weakness into strength and faith into Love converts weakness into strength and fear into faith. And so it is. But speaking of love, we have a man here who is going to sing and play and perform songs that we always love to hear. Our beloved Sandy Hemingway.
Thank you. So when I found out I would be playing on Father's Day, this song immediately leapt to mind. And the image in my mind was the very first image on the Father's Day video of a father with a child on his shoulders. When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when struggles come and my heart burdened to be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulder. You raise me up to more than I can be.
stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Beautiful. Beautiful song, beautifully sung. Thank you so very much, Sandy. So our speaker this morning is Reverend Matt Jones. And Matt has shared his inspiring and miraculous story to New Thought churches, centers, and audiences across the country. He went from being a 3-time cancer conqueror to relearning how to walk, to competing 7 marathons on 7 different continents, and is now a life-transforming inspirational speaker and author of not 1, but 10 books. Matt's story has been featured in many different international magazines and on many different television shows. He holds a BA in communication and MLS in liberal studies with an emphasis in organizational leadership, and is pursuing his doctorate in organizational leadership also. His mission is to flame the fire within individuals to develop a marathon mentality in order to reach their full potential by overcoming challenges, improving daily, and striving to attain greater fulfillment in their lives. Please help me to welcome Reverend Matt Jones to our center.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Dusty. Oh, wonderful. Well, a little update on that introduction. I did not finish my PhD in organizational leadership. I got to they call it ABD, all but dissertation. However, I recently completed my Doctor of Divinity, and my dissertation was looking at the Bible from a metaphysical lens versus a literal only. And so I'm going to share some of that with you because my background, I was raised fundamentalist Christian. Can anyone identify? Okay, so you can identify. And so I ended up leaving that, surprise, surprise. And and I went back in 2020 at All Faith Seminary to be ordained as an interfaith minister. And on the very first day, the rabbi who's the president of the seminary, he said something at first that I met with resistance. Now, I know no one here has ever met something with resistance, right? And I forgot who. Someone said when you experience resistance, to sit with it, go with it. Has anyone heard that before? Who said that? You want to remember? It was someone famous, anyways. And he said, go deep in the religion in which you were raised. I heard that. I had not owned a Bible for over 20 years. Now I have a Bible with me. Isn't it amazing how the universe, how life just happens? And what I discovered, because for over 20 years, I still had like this void. Because growing up, I loved the Bible. I loved the Bible stories. And I believed there was so much truth in there. But unfortunately, some people have used it in a less than good way. I like the metaphor of fire. Fire, one of the greatest inventions of humanity, because fire does what in a positive way? Warms us, light, food. It changed our whole eating aspect. And also think about when we first discovered fire, it gave us protection from wild animals. But fire can also be very destructive. And I think in many ways that's the Bible. And so I'm at this point in my life and I never necessarily imagined it. But as I look back on my life, everything led to this moment. Can anyone ever identify? The twists and the turns of life that just, it works out some way, somehow. And so I believe one of my callings and missions is to share the Bible in a way which I believe it should be shared more accurately, and that's in a metaphysical way. Paul himself wrote, we don't look at the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. And I believe that the Bible points to an unconditional God of love. I believe the Bible is an amazing book where people over thousands of years, different cultures have this experience with the divine. And I ask you, how can we as finite beings describe an infinite deity? Symbols. Talking about symbols. Another thing I like to study is the Course in Miracles. Anyone familiar with the Course in Miracles? And for me, it gave me a greater understanding of the Bible. One of the things the Course in Miracles says, which I find very interesting, is that God or Spirit doesn't understand language. And I thought that's very interesting, because shouldn't divine and Spirit understand everything? But let me ask you this. I think this is very important. At the very base level, what is a word? Sound? Symbol? But we think about the most simple level, a word is a collection of what? Letters. Letters that we give meaning to. Today we celebrate Father's Day. And I want to talk to you about this concept of God the Father. But perhaps, I don't know you personally, or know someone who's had issues with God the Father. And so we're going to talk about these symbols. And I think about how often do we get caught up in the symbols or meanings. And what happens, unfortunately, sometimes we end up dividing people. I mean, think about it. We're celebrating today, Juneteenth. One of the largest, no, actually, it's the largest evangelical Christian denomination in America. It was started because they wanted their missionaries to have slaves. I don't know how far off you can get from the message of Christ in that. And I have this passion because a lot of people don't realize. And this truth that we know is that we are all one. One of my favorite things in the Course of Miracles is it says Jesus became the Christ when he saw the face of God on all his brothers and sisters. I was at McDonald's yesterday. Every once in a while, I get these cravings for the Egg McMuffin. But I remember my mom as a kid, she'd make them for me. So maybe that's part of it. And so I guess I went there yesterday and Saturday morning. And I guess a lot of other people had a craving for an Egg McMuffin because it was packed. And I don't know about you, but one of my lessons in life is lines. I don't really like waiting in lines. I don't know anyone who does. Does anyone here like waiting in lines? Anyone at home? And it was moving so slow, like not at all. And I started getting like angry, upset, like just like, ugh. No one's ever gotten that way, right? And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm supposed to be speaking tomorrow. here I am. I'm getting upset at the McDonald's line. And then I made my order finally. I was like, okay, I waited this long. I made the order and it slowed down again. And then I saw a Starbucks right there. They were moving so efficiently. I was like, maybe I'll leave. And I pull up to the first window. Then they take your money, and there was a young girl there, I'm guessing in high school. And that hit me. There was the face of God. Then I pulled up, I ordered a smoothie too, and they forgot my straw. So I started getting an attitude, right? Where's my straw? I don't. And I saw another high schooler in there. Well, I soon to be in high school. There's the face of God. I took my smoothie, my Egg McMuffin, and I ate that. So I was happy. What's that word? Hungry. What's they call it? Angry, right? Like that Snickers commercial. Remember that Snickers commercial? And I'm driving around. I live in Simpsonville, South Carolina. Reminds me that the theme of the town is simply home. And I'm driving around and all the people out. There's a farmer's market. There's people are mowing their yard. And I'm thinking everywhere is the face of God. And Carol, I just like your meditation. I had this spiritual experience. Realizing profoundness. We have a very special person in the room. My girlfriend, Kristen, here. If we can all give her some love. Let's embarrass her, no. So I want to talk to you today about remembering the body. Remembering the body. Now, Course of Miracles, it believes that the body ultimately is an illusion. Because ultimately it doesn't exist in the fact we all know ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You know, it's a weird thing about getting older. Am I right or am I right? And I really didn't realize it until I hit 40. And I don't know if it's something about 40. I was told at one point, I was diagnosed with cancer, leukemia, my senior year of college. Talk about a lesson. See, the Course of Miracles says our body is a learning, teaching school. One of the ultimate ways that we learn is through our body. Am I right? Am I right? And part of our body is our relationships. One of the things I study is positive psychology. And positive psychology studies people who are happy, fulfilled, successful. And they found the number one predictor of happiness is relationships. I also think it's the number one cause of stress. Or maybe it's just me. But think about our body and our relationships to other people. Ultimately, I believe we're spiritual beings. And in the spiritual, we are perfect, we are whole, we are complete. And then we experience this body, and sometimes we have some bumps and bruises. And sometimes I forget that ultimately I'm a spiritual being blessed in this, I call it your earth suit. Now, I'm a big fan. I love Disney. Like Disney World, Disneyland, any Disney nights. I just love Disney. Some people, it's either love it or hate it. And you go on these rides, and they're so elaborate, and they seem real, but ultimately they're what? They're just illusions. And I think about it. As spiritual beings, we're on planet Earth. To me, one of the metaphors, this is the ultimate Disney World. Full of all these different rides and adventures. Now, I really don't like the really scary roller coasters. That's the way I like Disney World. But you think about a roller coaster. Why do people like roller coasters? You know, the ups and downs, the surprising turns. That's kind of life, isn't it? Think about how many adventures. Today we celebrate Father's Day. That's an adventure. I had a cancer adventure. Diagnosed leukemia my senior year of college. At one point, spread the fluid in my brain. I met this person later I called Dr. Doom. I'm sure we probably all have some Dr. Dooms. These are the people that brighten the whole room as soon as they leave. And sometimes, guess what? I'm my own Dr. Doom. You see, it was January 2004, and I was waiting for a bone marrow donor for a bone marrow transplant. I started having these massive headaches. And it felt like a Mack truck was parked on top of my head. I knew something wasn't right. But it was referred to, I'm originally from Kansas, KU Medical Center, downtown Kansas City, Kansas. And I remember sitting in that hospital room, waiting for the test results. I heard the knock. And then for the very first time, walked Dr. Doom. And she walked over to my bedside. She pulled up a stool. And she said, Matt, the cancer's come back. And it spread to the fluid in your brain. Talk about a bad Monday morning. Now, one of the things I try to live with, and one of the things that made such a big difference in my life, is this philosophy. Lighten up, don't tighten up. Lighten up, don't tighten up. And I think in essence, for me, when Jesus said, if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, become like what? A child. I read this study. It was in Good Housekeeping. The average child laughs or smiles up to 400 times a day. Curious, how many of you have children? How many ever seen a children? Is that right, grammar? A children? Hey, I'm from Kansas. But by the time they reach the age of 13, that number drops to 15. What happens to that childlike joy? Life. And I think what happens is so often, at least me, I get caught up in the dead past or the imaginary future. And I miss out on the only thing we have, which is now, the present. Jesus said, don't worry about tomorrow, 2,000 years ago. And we're still doing what? Because the reality is, yesterday is a canceled check. Tomorrow is a promissory note. And all we ever have is this moment. And in this moment, that we can choose love. You see, I believe this. Are you all familiar with the story of Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden? And they're in the tree and they're not supposed to eat the fruit. I believe this. I believe that every day we are in, every choice, every moment, the metaphysical Garden of Eden. And we can choose the fruit of love, or we can choose the fruit of fear. Choose the fruit of oneness, or choose the fruit of division. And here's the good news. I love what the Course in Miracles says. It says, you can choose again. Whew. Because how often do I beat myself up because I got upset or angry or didn't meditate enough or I didn't do this or that? How often my own Dr. Doom? Now, when Dr. Doom told me that the cancer spread the fluid in my brain, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to need a brain transplant. I'm still looking for a donor. This thing called life is crazy if we allow it to be. When I turned 40, I went and celebrated Publix. Do you have Publix up here? I went to Publix and I got me a bottle of wine. Because she said to me, you have a less than 10% chance of living to the age of 30. She got up and she walked out. Which in hindsight, I'm glad she left. Because I didn't need that negativity in my life. One of my mentors, Les Brown, said, and this is for someone today needs to hear this, someone else's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. We know in the teaching of science of mind, thoughts become things. And we've got to guard our thoughts. That's why Paul said, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by what? The renewing of your mind. And after you're like, the meditation, then Sandy's song, I'm like, whoo, I'm ready to take on the world of love. Oh, what's going to happen? There's going to be times when I choose that fruit of separation. I choose that fruit of fear, that fruit of anxiety. And when that happens, all I have to do is what? Choose again. It's that simple. I believe. So I'm at Publix. Dr. Doom said I wouldn't live past 30. I bought myself this bottle of wine. I'm going, checking out, and the clerk asked me for my ID. Yes, Carol, I was so excited. It had been a while since I'd been ID'd. I was like, this is the best birthday gift ever. I'm like, oh, woo, I'm feeling good, looking good. I reach into my wallet to get my ID. Actually, I got that water back there. Right behind you. I'm getting all choked up. Oh, thank you, Avery. Can we get Avery a big round of applause? AV and water, help her out. Woo. The blessing of water. When I first started speaking over 15 years ago, I gave this talk, and a gentleman from Uganda came up to me, and he said, Matt, in my country, 80% of the people don't have access to fresh water. Whew. Do you know how many people today don't have access to fresh water? And how many times do I take it for granted? All the blessings. Thank you for water. Whew. I don't even know where to put it. I'll just hold it. Right here. Put it here. Sure. You don't want to be like a sacred altar. No. Science of mind. Isn't this great to come together as community? Yes. This is what it's about. And then people join online, the hybrid here and in person, to get together to remind us that we're loved, that we're all one. And we all have all these different earth suits on. How cool is that? The diversity of God. The diversity of all these different paths. See, I believe God is all there exists. And for me, one of the most powerful things ever written was found in 1 John. 1 John 4, verse 8 and 16. In the Greek, it says, Theos agape estin. Translated, God is love. And that Greek word agape, some of you probably know, stands for what? What kind of love? Unconditional love. I heard one time that the reason why God's referred to God the Father is because it contains the lesson. For most people, we understand unconditional love from our mothers. For most people, the relationship with the dad is a little more complicated. I don't know if anyone can relate. One of my very first memories of my dad, and I was kind of ornery growing up. I don't even know why I did this, but I'm sitting in church, and I'm probably like 5 years old, and I'm sitting on his lap. And I remember Fort Ord, California. He was in the Navy, and I'm just sitting in his lap, and they had a choir going, and I was facing him, and I don't know if I was like hungry or curious or because he had a really big nose, but I reached out and I bit his nose. I just chowed down on it. How weird is that? 20 years later, the age of 25, because they put a special device in my head because the cancer had spread to the fluid in my brain, got infected. One of my kidneys began to fail. Temperature rose to 104 degrees. And Valentine's Day 2004, I slipped into an unconscious state. Doctors at 2 o'clock in the morning had family and friends call because they didn't think I would make it. My mentor, once again, Les Brown, said, the doctor can give you the diagnosis, but the prognosis is up to God. You see, what the doctors didn't realize, what Dr. Doom didn't realize, is that I believe one of the reasons why I'm here today is because you and I had a divine appointment. Ernest Holmes said this: if someone else has done it, you can do it. According to doctors, I should not be alive. And I wake up sometimes and I say, why me? Why have I been so blessed to still be in this earth suit? The reason why I'm blessed is the reason why you are. One of my favorite books of all time, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. How many read this book? Oh, I love it. I love it. I think it was the 70s, right? Richard Bach, the author, said this: how do you know if you have a purpose in life? What's the test? He said, if you woke up. Yes, we are spiritual, eternal beings, and we get the privilege, we get the blessing for whatever time to experience life in this earth suit, to experience duality, the light, the darkness, the cold, the hot, the love, the hate. So ultimately, I believe that we can shine the light to be that city on the hill. Came out of that unconscious state. And the first thing I remember, I'm sitting in the hospital bed. I have these tennis shoes on. My laces are untied. And there's my dad. And he walks over, just like when I was 5 years old. And he reached down and tied my shoes. I had to relearn how to walk. Went on to complete a marathon in every continent. And I think the whole marathon came because I had brain damage. I don't know what I was thinking. Woo. And I think about my relationship with my dad. At one point, because of a series of circumstances, we broke off communication. I no longer talk to him. And now I do, because from that relationship, I was able to practice forgiveness. Forgiveness. About ready to, I got 5 minutes. I want to read this verse to you. 1 Corinthians 12:12. Because we're talking about the body. And one of the things, as I was meditating, I was thinking about remembering the body. I thought back to probably from my childhood, but Jesus said, do this in remembrance of me. And he talked about his body. And they use that metaphor a lot. And 1 Corinthians 12:12, let me read this to you. Ooh, this is good stuff. At 11:11, metaphysical number. For as the body is one, the body is what? One. And as many members, but all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is Christ. The oneness. Now, let me read this verse. So, let me ask you this. Anyone want to guess? And there's no wrong answer, only right. What do you think, what have been taught the very first book of the New Testament? Anyone want to guess? Matthew. Okay, great guess. Anyone else? Any other? Matthew, it's the first one in there. Well, actually, it was not the first one written. They just decided they're going to order it. And one of the very first books that were written, it depends on the theologian or scholar, was either Galatians or 1 Thessalonians. And actually, Matthew was, some people think, was written as far as 100 CE, 70 years after the actual, story of Christ. Think about that. So Galatians chapter 3, this was one of the very first things that was written to this group that was called the Christians. And it says this: you are all children of God. I like that. Who are some? All. And I have another verse here. Make sure I get this. This other verse is Galatians 3:28. Once again, these are some of the very first writings of the New Testament church called Christians. Galatians 3:28. You probably all heard this one, perhaps. 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free. There is neither male nor female, for you are all one. Now, what's interesting, that culture in Rome, women, for the most part, was treated as property. Do you know who supported Jesus' ministry? Anyone want to know what the Bible says? Women. How revolutionary is that? Women. If it wasn't for the women, Jesus never would have spread his message. Whoo. And we got some people say women can't be ministers. Do you know who the very first apostle was? Mary Magdalene. She was the first one to see Jesus resurrected. I believe that was a resurrection in the mind's eye, not the physical body necessarily. And the early church, and it was suppressed. The women had a huge part in it. Also, in Roman culture, 66% of the population had been a slave or were currently enslaved. And Paul said there's neither free nor slave, neither male or female, Jew or Gentile. I think if Paul was alive today, he'd say there's neither black or white, heterosexual or homosexual, either male or female, either Republican or Democrat. Come on now. This message of we are all one in the spirit. And I think the beauty is that we get to identify in our earth suit. I truly believe one of the greatest things about the United States of America is our diversity. How awesome is that? You all familiar with Baskin Robbins? They have 31 flavors, right? Now let me ask you this. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? Vanilla? Okay. There's always one. Okay. Anybody else? Chocolate blackout. I don't even know what that is. Then let me say now is okay because Ava likes vanilla and Carol likes chocolate blackout. Is Ava right or Carol wrong or Carol right or Ava? Is it still ice cream? Yes. That's why I love this. That's why I got interfaith ordination. It's all God. And because we're individuals in the earth suit, we get to see God however we get to see God because God is God. And I get a little excited about that because unfortunately, and this was the earliest message of the church. And because of it, there was persecution because it upset societal norms. Whew. It went against the grain of society because Rome was very patriarchal, very authoritative, and they wanted to put people in structures. All right, about ready to wrap up. I guess Ernest Holmes, he said something very profound. I'm going to read this to you. Ernest Holmes said, if the philosophy of Christianity, now, what is the philosophy of Christianity? Love, absolutely. But I think it's not just love, unconditional love. See, the Father has unconditional love. Theos agape estin. Now, the Greek word theos is both, you ready for this? Masculine and feminine. Now, in the Hebrew, one of the most common words for God is Elohim. It's only masculine. Are you seeing what's happening? There's a consciousness. There's a growth and understanding. Hopefully, think about it. Is that not part of our purpose here? Is to have a better understanding, a better awareness of the spirit of the divine to move forward? Is that not a mark of progress? Pride Month and Juneteenth? Think about it. That's the hope. I truly believe this. One of my philosophies, love the good, don't hate the bad. And it's sometimes we can get caught up. Love the good, don't hate the bad. Ernest Holmes, if the philosophy of Christianity was lived, wars would cease, unhappiness would cease, economic problems would be solved, poverty would be wiped from the face of the earth, and man's inhumanity to man would be transmuted into a spirit of mutual helpfulness. You see, the message of Christ, I believe, was that we are one with God and God is one with us. We are the temple of living God, and we are all the children of God. How amazing is that? To know now as we move forward and move out of here, we get to go and spread that love and that truth and the awareness that everyone is a child of God. How amazing is that? And so it is, and amen. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go love. Woo! I just want to go love some people. Hug. And isn't it amazing? We can choose that. Ooh, I'm kind of sweaty, but all right. Okay. I'm those preacher's rags. No.
Thank you so very much, Reverend Matt. Love your energy. Love the message. It's been a joy to have you here with us today. So thank you once again. So it is now time for our conscious giving. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living is sustained by the giving of our time, talent, and treasure. And this is the time every week when we really consciously offer financial support to our community to be in order for us to continue to be a beacon of light and warmth and love in the Greater Triangle area. Together, we affirm the truth that today's offering lifts this spiritual community and prospers the one giving, and also really shifts the energy of sufficiency on the planet. So there are a number of different ways, and they're on the screen of how you can do this. Visit our website at www.trianglecsl.org or text the word give to the following number, 919-230-8445. Or you can also send an actual physical check, if you're doing that at all, to our address, PO Box 4062, Cary, North Carolina, 27519. Please place your hand on your heart with your gift or with an intention for this community or yourself or someone in the world, and we'll do our offering affirmation in a call and response. I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life. I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life. I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source. I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source. And so it is. Thank you all so very much for your gifts. It is now my pleasure, my absolute pleasure, to welcome back to his piano the amazing Sandy Hemingway.
This is a song by Daniel Nahmod, and it was ironically the first Daniel Nahmod song I ever heard. And there's a line in it that I've sung the song dozens and dozens of times, and every time I get to this one line, it still hits me emotionally. And the line is, "Has a child stood a little bit taller because of something I said?" And I think that's just a perfect message for Father's Day. It's called Last Song. If this is my last song, if this is my final day, if tomorrow I'll be gone, what do I want to say? If this is my last song, if it's my time to go, when my body's moved on, what will I have to show? Oh, but fortune and fame, they scatter to the wind. The things that make a name just don't matter in the end. But is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and sky a little more blue? Is humankind a little bit wiser 'cause of something we can do?
Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. If these are my last words for all of the earth to hear, if all that I have ever been is about to disappear, if these are my last words, there's nothing that I need to say. I have only tried to serve. It's never been about talking anyway. So much hurt there is still. It's hard to understand. All I can hope to feel is that I am doing what I can. And is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and sky a little more blue. Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. Have I given hope to the hopeless? Has a hungry soul been fed? Has a child stood a little bit taller 'cause of something that I said? Have I left a little kindness? Have I eased a little pain? If so, then I'm glad I came. For that, I'm so glad I came. If this is my last song, what do I leave behind? What do I pass on if I am out of time?
Say, we're glad you came because you always make our services a little bit brighter. So, all right. So, if anyone would like prayer, please go to our website at trianglecsl.org. On the homepage, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that button and fill in the request form. We will get that prayer and send it out to all of the ministers and practitioners. If anybody would like a flower dedication for anyone, for anything, contact Heather Abbott at info@trianglecsl.org or Reverend Dusty at dustyribblemeyer@yahoo.com. Okay, so this is your last chance to sign up because next Saturday, June 25th, we are having a booth at the 10th Out Raleigh celebration. So we'll again be hosting a vendor table during the Raleigh Pride event. We are looking for people who are willing to help us staff the table throughout the day. And it is a wonderful opportunity to talk with people, to see their stories, to share the welcoming space that we are, to see the face of God in everyone that comes by. So setup begins at 8. The event begins at 11 and lasts until 6. We need assistance all that time. So guess what you should do? Once again, you contact Heather at info@trianglecsl.org and let her know what time is good for you, and you will be part of the party. We promise you it will be a wonderful day. Okay, so now it is time for our June affirmations. So stand up, make it real, get those lungs ready to pump it out because it's all about intention, not just saying words. It is a call and response. So I'll go first and then you repeat it with meaning. My body is not separate from my spiritual life. It is a divinely created, integral aspect of the kingdom of heaven. As such, it is the house of the divine on earth. As an awe-inspiring manifestation of God, my body is perfect exactly as it is.
As an awe-inspiring manifestation of God, my body is perfect exactly as it is.
Today, I dive into the wonder that is my body and consciously choose to treat it kindly.
Today, I dive into the wonder that is my body and consciously choose to treat it kindly.
I say yes to becoming friends with it and listening to its voice.
I say yes to becoming friends with it and listening to its voice.
Knowing that it is a divine tool that is absolutely vibrating with the flow of Source, I use it to feel into the now moment.
Knowing that it is a divine tool that is absolutely vibrating with the flow of Source, I use it to feel into the now moment.
By honoring and loving my body, I have a richer experience of the divine.
By honoring and loving my body, I have a richer experience of the divine.
And so it is. All right, so for one last moment, please close your eyes, turn within, and I know, looking inside, I see the fire. I see that fire of joy and laughter and love, the joy of the divine that is the truth of me. But I see that fire spreading amongst us here, spreading amongst those at home, spreading among everyone. I see today as having turned up that light and turned up the volume on our laugh track. And I see that rippling through the world in magnificent ways for my life, for the lives, in the lives of the people who participated today, in the lives of the universe. That today was a good God day, and that will be manifest in ways we can't even imagine. But we just know it'll be good. It will be joyful, it will be abundant, and most of all, it will be unconditionally loving. So I'm so grateful for everyone who made today possible. So grateful for our new friend, Reverend Matt, and so grateful for the miracles that are going to be happening because we say so. So I just turn this over to God. Let God do the God thing and ask you to affirm this with me with our words. And so it is. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all so very much for joining us today at Sophie's or for inviting us into your homes. Have an amazing, amazing week. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth. Happy summer solstice. And let's go out there and enjoy the diversity that is present in this world by celebrating each other every moment of every day. And so it is. Love you.